So we're gonna go ahead with The Purposeful Life by Rick Warren, as far as I can remember the title, and we're gonna go ahead with The Thinking Mind, I guess. I actually do not really know. This is where we have stopped the last time. I think that it is gonna be about, this section I think is gonna be about rather something people know already about. It, I guess, is not gonna be too overwhelmingly just great or whatnot. But anyway, we don't see things as they are, we see them as we are, by Anais Nin or something. If I asked how you picture life, what image would come to your mind? That image is your life metaphor. It's the view of life that you hold consciously or unconsciously in your mind. It's your description of how life works and what you expect from it. And I think, even though I guess that this is something that people already know, I still believe also by understanding and knowing and counting the amount of times I'm talking about this. It is very important, it really is, because I think it is a fact. The way you see life, the way your worldview work, the way you just the way you see things, your point of view, your attitude, your opinion, these things, they just matter such a lot, because they determine one's life quite entirely, really quite entirely. And so I think it is also pretty crucial to monitor these things, to monitor your thoughts, the way you see things, the way you think, the way things work in your mind, just to see whether they are serving you or not. Because, probably for everyone, there is certain aspects of our worldview and or certain worldviews. It depends on how you think about things, whether you see it as something separate or a whole piece with a lot of facets, that we could change, or at least have a look at and decide, do I want to change this? Does it make sense to change it? Because maybe when I change this one thing, it might also alter something that is indeed serving me, Life is complex, life is difficult, and, possibilities are quite high, and or there are, quite a ton of different facets and possibilities and whatnot one could pay attention to, one sometimes also should pay attention to. So things are incredibly difficult. The way I think in theory, practically, maybe actually not that much. Anyway, the way you see your life shapes your life. How you define life determines your destiny. Your perspective will influence how you invest your time, spend your money, use your talents, and value your relationships. Change your autopilot, the way you think. The Bible says, let God transform you into a new person by changing the way you think. Your first step in spiritual growth is to start changing the way you think. Change always starts first in your mind. So what does God use to transform our minds? The answer is truth. Cultural lies conform us, but eternal truths transform us. Very difficult statement. To change your life, you must change the way you think. Behind everything you do is a thought, every behavior is motivated by a belief, and every action is prompted by an attitude. Very important paragraph, very important sentence. Two sentences. Because it is just the case, we are motivated by certain things in our subconscious mind or conscious mind. We do certain things because of things that are going on in our heads, attitudes, worldviews, values, beliefs, whatever it might be. And changing this system just inevitably is going to change the way we behave in various different forms, maybe even the way we talk, the words that we use, and so on and so forth. Incredible. God is always more interested in why we do something than in what we do. Attitudes count more than achievements. It has never been easier in history to fulfill your commission to go to the whole world. The great barriers are no longer distance, cost, or transportation. The only barrier is the way we think. To be a world-class Christian, you must make some mental shifts. Your perspective and attitudes must change. So this is pretty much tied to Christianity apparently right now. I do want to point out something that unfortunately, pointed out in the very end of the last episode, which is, this is highly religiously inspired, this piece of art, if you want to call it, this piece of literature, this book. But it really depends on how you think about, religions and everything around this topic. But if you have problems with think about God and whatnot, I would highly request you to think about this work as something, seeing it in a rather objective view or point of view or whatnot, because subjectively saying, this is all bullshit because I don't believe in religions, may not serve you. You may actually get quite a ton out of this book by trying to understand the concepts behind everything, the concept behind the book, maybe even the concept of religions, and so on and so forth. I think this can really be important, and this can really be good for one. Of course, this is very difficult. If you're really against religious thoughts and whatnot, this is going to be utter bullshit for you. For somebody else that really is into, praying every day or whatever it might be, might say, this is something that I already learned, for example. But I think it is important to understand the whole concept behind the book, behind religions and whatnot, and just then seeing patterns, and seeing this as something, as I said, rather objective and not subjective, Anyway, shift from self-centered thinking to other-centered thinking, i.e., a bit more empathy and thinking about other people more than you think about yourself, essentially. Shift from local thinking to global thinking. Shift from here and now thinking to eternal thinking. The battle of sin is won or lost in your mind. Whatever gets your attention will get you. Spiritually, your mind is your most vulnerable organ. If you're serious about defeating temptation, you must manage your mind and monitor your media intake. Which is actually also indeed something that I've been talking about for quite a while. Media intake, the things we consume, whether it is music, even though, depends on how much you consume it and so on, may or may not be that impactful. But the movies, the films, the articles, these things that we consume on a daily basis, probably, they really also can change the way we think and feel and talk and behave and whatever. Of course, when we are inspired by a certain person from a certain movie that is doing a certain thing, maybe we're gonna also do this certain thing because it feels great, or it looked great, or it felt great watching this movie. Probably also something the kids do a bit more often. I'm seeing a superhero movie, and so I am also gonna be a superhero by doing X, Y, and Z. But I think essentially, maybe subconsciously, maybe consciously, probably a bit more subconsciously, we try to, this is a guess, not a fact whatsoever, that we are also gonna try to imitate these people, these people that we're looking up to, these people that we enjoy watching, and so on and so forth. I think, which is the overall point of my long and, unnecessary long sentence, monitoring what you consume is very important. And if you notice that you feel a particular way, maybe negatively, after watching a certain movie or certain series, a certain whatever, listening to a certain music, maybe you should change that, unless you want to feel sad, which is also fine. But these things can impact us. These things do have power. Character development. God's ultimate goal for your life on earth is not comfort, but character development. He wants you to grow up spiritually and become like Christ. Becoming like Christ does not mean losing your personality or becoming a mindless clone. God created your uniqueness, so he certainly doesn't want to destroy it. Christ-likeness is all about transforming your character, not your personality. What is the difference between character and personality? Would actually be nice to know, because I don't know. God is far more interested in what you are than in what you do. We are human beings, not human doings. God is much more concerned about your character than your career, because you will take your character into eternity, but not your career. Never forget that life is not about you. You exist for God's purpose, not vice versa. Why would God provide heaven on earth when he's planned the real thing for you in eternity? God gives us our time on earth to build and strengthen our character for heaven. We must put on the character of Christ by developing new godly habits. Your character is essentially the sum of your habits. It is how you habitually act. Habits matter a lot. Nothing shapes your life more than the commitments you choose to make. Also maybe people could be viewed as a commitment. Your commitments can develop you or they can destroy you, but either way, they will define you. Tell me what you're committed to, and I'll tell you what you will be in 20 years. We become whatever we are committed to. Every problem is a character building opportunity, and the more difficult it is, the greater the potential for building spiritual muscle and moral fiber. What happens outwardly in your life is not as important as what happens inside you. Your circumstances are temporary, but your character will last forever unless you change it. So therefore it is also temporary, because you can change it, as well as everything can change. My body is also temporary. It is not going to look this way. It's not going to feel this way. It's not going to be this way as a matter of fact forever. So still, I think habits, commitments, opinions, attitudes, they really matter. And indeed, they can also dramatically change the way our life develops. And we develop, therefore, as well. This next sentence is one of the most important spiritual truths you will ever learn. God develops the fruit of the Spirit in your life by allowing you to experience circumstances in which you're tempted to express the exact opposite quality. Character development always involves a choice, and temptation provides that opportunity. Yes, indeed, every bit of development, physically and mentally, is about choices. If I choose to work out, well, guess what is going to happen? Because of that habit, something specific is going to happen, whatever it might be, depends on various different aspects. Also, if I decide to, just not lose it to temptations, well, I'm also going to be a certain person. And I am also going to develop in certain ways. Going to have a bit more willpower than some other people. Whatever. It is always about choices. We can choose, and we also have responsibility. A term that I really, really enjoyed lately, and as I've heard it, it's not about responsibility that you have to do something. You are forced to do something, and you are responsible for something, but you have the ability to respond to whatever. And therefore, we basically also have the ability of choice. We always can choose. I can choose to say things in this way, but I could also choose to say things in a completely different and other way. We are in control, basically, control of our lives. Of course, there are certain things we are not in control of, i.e. the weather, i.e. things that may or may not matter in the end actually as well. But very important to understand this, and also let these things just be as they are. It is what it is. I can't change the weather, so whatever the weather is going to be, I'm going to be fine with it. I'm going to have to accept that, because if I'm happy or angry or whatnot, the weather is not going to change, as well as other people's opinion about me. I can influence that, as we, I think, as well can influence the weather to some degree, but I can't alter it. I can't change it. I can't, at least not completely, because influence may or may not be, it depends on how you think about things, a slight change in things, to a certain percentage, to a certain degree. But yeah, I think that I'm going to end the episode there. I hope that I've been able to go over something and speak about some things that were of value to you. If so, maybe leave me a like, maybe subscribe to the podcast / the YouTube channel, and I'm hopefully going to see you the next time. So bye